Happy, what is today? Tuesday. It's kind of Wednesday though, because we're off on Friday. And Monday. So today is kind of Wednesday. 3. I need you to get out a reading notebook. We're going to go back to some notes that you've already taken and do a little reviewing here. But first, I also want you to pull up this author's purpose discussion you were supposed to do. Some of you have not done it. Some of you need to fix it, and I'm going to explain why. While you're getting ready, I'm going to give you a minute or so here to pull this up and get out your reading notebook. I have some I'm going to pull up to look at, and we're going to talk about those. But before we do that, you have the opportunity or not right now, but when I'm done, to go back and add to or fix. Some of you just told me what the author or why the author wrote this. Okay, you didn't give me text evidence. Okay, you didn't say anything else other than one sentence. The author wrote this to inform. The author wrote this to explain, whatever it is. I need more than that. Remember, one sentence answers are not acceptable when you're doing things like this. Okay? You're making an inference. What's an inference? Nick?
It's like basically guessing like what's gonna happen. Like
You might say you're guessing. It's not a guess, right?
Like informationally guessing.
You're taking what you read, right, and what you know, and you're coming up with an idea, an answer. But in order to make that idea or answer correct, or to the point where I can't necessarily mark it wrong because you did a great job explaining, what do you need? Because there is one here I'm going to show you that if she wouldn't have given me evidence, I probably wouldn't give full credit. I kind of told you already, right? Josh, what do you need?
You need to explain why he wrote it and like what the story is talking about.
Right, you have to pull details from that story, right? You need to use the author's words to help you with your answer, to help persuade, ultimately, me or whoever is grading that, why you decided on this. Because even though maybe you said it was something different than what I was looking for, you might get full credit, or at least most of the points, and that's better than none of the points. Okay, a lot of you said it was informing, which, yes, that would be the typical response that I'm looking for. Okay, he's giving you information. Why would we say the author is informing us? Jackson?
Because he is telling about different phases of describing.
Right, and you might have mentioned describing as well as a thing, but it's giving you information, it's giving you facts, it's telling you about these different mazes. Okay, so information is probably the most obvious purpose for this story. Okay, bless you. Let's go to, so it lets me highlight people so I can find them easier. There it is. So here is one. We're going to read Miss Ava's. And her explanation talks about in the passage, so she starts with her evidence, which was fine. Okay, it was a little bit different way of doing it. Normally we do our answer and then give the explanation, but this worked. Okay, so in the passage, this is what makes mazes so much fun and difficult. This is her main evidence for what she decides is the purpose. Okay, they're fun and they can be difficult. Okay, they put that in the article because this passage is about all the different types of mazes, like how they are different, like how some are made. Oh, I think I'm cutting some things off here, aren't I? There they are.
Yep.
Oh, a whole bunch, goodness. Because they are trying to tell you that mazes are very fun. Okay, this passage is about all the different types of mazes, like how they are different, how some are made of corn, and most mazes are in England. I think the author made this article to also persuade us to check out some mazes, which according to her evidence
It's true.
and her information, is absolutely true. Okay, she went a completely different route than the majority of those that answered it, but she supported it with evidence. If she would have just said, oh, that's persuading, and moved on, it may have gotten no points. Maybe one. Because, yeah, you could definitely, we see you can make a case that it was persuading, right? Okay? So keep that in mind, how important this evidence is when you are answering these questions. I'm not sure what's happening up here with my screen. There we go. Also had, so we can see some of the comparisons in length of these. See how much is written here? Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Same thing, if I scroll back up here to Ava, same thing. Okay, I've got a nice little paragraph size here. Okay, and if we look at some of those with just one sentences, you're just telling me what the author did. He can inform us, right? Well, what? What does he tell me about those mazes? Yeah, he tells me about them, but what are specific details he tells me? He tells me they're in England, right? He tells me there are different kinds. Those are the details I'm looking for to support those different answers, okay? So you have, this is still open. I haven't put grades in for this yet. Okay, I glanced at a few of them. You have the opportunity, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes right now to go back into the lesson 30 author's purpose discussion. Okay, and you can hit reply on the bottom of yours and just add to yours. Okay, don't start a whole new comment. Just add to your current one. Okay.
Or you can edit it.
You could do that too. Yeah, it should give you, I think, the lines over here, doesn't it, Eli? The little dots or something?
I don't know if it's on the iPad, it's on the website.
I think it is.
Oh, okay. Either way, so if you're on the website and you can edit it, or if you just want to hit reply and add to it, that's fine. Okay, 5 minutes, I want you to go through, some of you haven't even completed it, so you're either completing it or you're adding to it. Okay? And if you are good, like I showed too, Ava's and Anastasia's, you're just taking a few minutes here, maybe 5 minutes of free iPad time if you're good. Okay? I would check mine. If you have one sentence, you are definitely adding more.
I don't have one.
Shh, quietly. And then we will move on to what we're doing next.
You said that today's technically Wednesday, so now I think we have library today.
No, we still are today.
We leave. Only 10 o'clock.
10:15. You have 30 minutes and then you go to work. 30 minutes.
Only if it was.
Okay, finishing up. You may not need 5 minutes. I may only need to give you like 3 minutes.
Too long.
While you're getting ready, I'm gonna get ready for our next. like we're ready to move on. No, I haven't, but I think it would make me sick.
I tripped over one of the fingers at one time.
I ran into one. I was running and
All right, if you still need to finish that, you'll have to do that later. Right now, we're going to talk about, because you were supposed to have read the Get Lost, the Puzzle of Maze story. So in the reading course and in the Lesson 30 folder, you're going to go to the Lesson 30 text questions. We're going to go through some of these together. Yep.
They're all texting.
This is going to be some great I Learn practice, because you will see many questions like this where it's wanting you to do some typing. You'll have multiple choice as well, but those tend to be a little easier once you kind of go through and figure out which ones don't make sense. And we'll talk more about test taking later. But these are important ones that we need to make sure we're writing and typing and including that evidence. We tend to just answer it and move on because we're in a hurry. Okay? So we need to look at these and practice going back to the text. So you might want to split screen, pull this up on one side and then the story up on the other.
Do I just go on Schoology on Safari?
You should be able to open the book up and open that in Safari, and then pull the book up and then pull this up in Schoology.
Or you could do it the opposite, pull it up in Schoology and then the questions up.
In the website. Okay. All right. So our first question says, answer each question in complete sentences, which that should just be known. When you have something you're typing like this and there's a big box, a big space, that means you probably need sentences. Okay? You'll need to look back in the story to find your answer and to provide text evidence, which is why I'm having you split screen. So here it says, compare and contrast mazes and labyrinths. How are they the same and how are they different? What does it mean, compare and contrast? Well, if I use context clues, it tells me. Comparing and contrasting. What does that mean? Nick, I need your eyes up here, please. What am I looking for, Claire? Yeah, I'm looking for the same and different. I'm looking for similarities and differences between those two types of mazes. So if I go back to the story here, I can see this paragraph, and then this one talks about what is a labyrinth. Okay? So if I go back and read them, I can find some differences, some very obvious differences. Maybe the similarities are a little few. Let's read. You're going to listen and follow along. Imagine you are running along a narrow gravel pathway. On either side of you is a 6-foot wall of tangled hedges. Openings along the hedge lead to other long, leafy green hallways. They all look the same. You are caught in a maze. Can you find your way out? Even a compass won't help you. Many of these twisting passageways will never take you to the end. Instead, they lead to dead ends, and you have to retrace your steps. This is what makes mazes so much fun and so difficult. So now it says, what's a labyrinth? We're listening right now, Josh.
I can't find the book.
Then just listen. Many people confuse mazes with labyrinths. Unlike mazes, many labyrinths have no walls at all. One difference, right? They are simply designs built into a floor or other flat surface. Mazes are multicursal, meaning they have many paths. A labyrinth is unicursal. It has a single path from the beginning to the end. Most labyrinths are less challenging than mazes, but there's one exception you'll read about on page 73. So here the author is giving you this different kind of maze because you probably know a lot about the other type, right? A labyrinth is something we probably haven't heard of, but we know some of the other mazes, right? Raise your hand if you've been to a maze, like a corn maze or, okay, good. So let's think about similarities first, because those seem to be a little fewer in that paragraph that it gave us. What are some similarities between the mazes and the labyrinths? Juliana?
So different, the labyrinths have no walls and are more difficult.
Okay. Well, the labyrinths have no walls and they're easier than the mazes. What are similarities? We have lots of differences listed there. Similarities, Adam? But what about the labyrinth? Does the labyrinth have several pathways? I said most of them are unicursal, so it's just one path that continues to go to some place. Where a maze does have a dead end. What can you say in general about them? Maybe it doesn't say it here, but what do you know about mazes? Whether it's a labyrinth maze or one on paper or a hedge maze. What can we say about them, Brendan?
They both have a pathway that leads to somewhere.
Okay, they have pathways that lead somewhere. Ioana?
They both have a beginning and an end.
We got to start somewhere, right? And they end somewhere. Good. Adam? They're fun. It's the one I was thinking of. They're fun. We got 3 right there, didn't we? Based off of information that we know. Okay? So let's start here. It says, compare and contrast mazes and labyrinths. How are they the same? How are they different? So I'm going to start complete sentences. Mazes and labyrinths have a start and end point, right? What did you mention? Oh, pathways, right? And pathways.
Both have a pathway leading somewhere.
Pathways, okay, leading somewhere. Good. Maybe, if I can type. Okay, so I'm going to make that one sentence. And I'm going to put the last one we talked about, they're fun, right? So you might word it as in, most importantly, either kind are fun to participate in. Okay? You need me to make it bigger? I keep cutting it off, so importantly, both types are fun to participate in. Okay, so we'll type those down. That's our similarities. Most importantly, yep. That should be most importantly, comma. Yeah.
One time I went into a play base with my brother. It was just me and my brother, and then my dad and my mom were separate. And me and my brother were stuck, so we just got bored. So we just grabbed a corn, like a fresh corn, and we just chucked it up in the air to see if we could hit somebody. And
That's not very nice.
And then,
I don't want to hear about those kinds of stories. Okay, we're typing. We're going to do differences next. Oh, sorry. Here you go. Typing. Are we typing this? Okay. Differences. We kind of started mentioning some. A labyrinth has no walls. What else? We mentioned the labyrinth was easier than the mazes. Emmy? Right, the labyrinth only has the one path, where a maze has many. Other ones? Something I want to point out to you before we start typing these. When you're doing a compare and contrast, you don't want to just say a labyrinth is easier. Okay? And then you say labyrinths have one and mazes don't. Well, what do mazes have? What makes them different? Okay, we're leaving out, when we answer these, we typically leave out those important details about the other one. We just focus on the one. I want the details for all of it. That's what's going to, one, give you that nice length that we're looking for as far as answering these questions as a 5th grader. Okay? And it helps make sense and the other person to see, oh, the labyrinth is easier, but the maze is more difficult. Labyrinth has one pathway you follow, but the maze might have multiple and include dead ends. Okay, so you've got to give those details in here as you're answering it. Now notice, this question doesn't necessarily ask for text evidence, but our answer is the text, isn't it? Okay, when we get to these differences, these are things you would find in the text. So let's say, labyrinths, make sure I spell it right. Nope.
are we in this?
Labyrinths are, maybe we would say, have a single pathway and are easier. Then you might say mazes have multiple pathways, and somebody had mentioned, I think Adam, and mentioned the dead ends, right? Nope. Making them more difficult. Okay, let me get it lined back up here so we can see it. There it is. So I'm explaining to you how this is easier, right? It's a single pathway, and then I tell you, well, these mazes are multiple paths, so they are more difficult. I don't just tell you this one line and then move on. Okay? I think I missed something though. What was some other things we talked about? Oh, the no walls, right? And this would probably be sufficient. We could add in the no walls. You might say another difference is the mazes have high walls while the labyrinth have no walls, period. Okay, now I think we're pretty good there, so I'll give you a minute here to type that in.
So labyrinths, is it, so all you have to do is like pay money just to go in a big circle?
Yeah, but some of them, and like they mentioned, if you read the article yesterday, some of them lead you to something cool in the center that you can go see.
It's a big circle.
Well, that's why they're easier, because you see the one in the picture, it's just rocks, right? So you can literally just step over them. And some of those might be more designed for younger kids who a big tall maze with the big walls might overwhelm them or scare them. Okay, so you might start them on something more like that. Exactly. Whew. It's kind of nerve-wracking to be in those tall mazes like that. I mean, I don't know, that's a good question. I suppose they could
Probably
be
like a
other
square.
ones. Could be. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Kenny?
I've seen like labyrinths that like were more for decoration than like you go in.
Okay.
It was just like flowers.
Oh, yeah. More like a decoration or like a garden, how they had it set up where it would be. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good idea. I'm sure that would work too. And even the one that they kind of picture looks more decorative with the stone than anything, right? Okay. All right. Are we still typing?
Yes.
Because this is what I'm looking for when I go back through to grade these. Make sure you have it.
I have all of it.
Well, as long as it's close. I don't want to see a one-sentence answer for this one, that's for sure.
I think I wrote it word by word.
I'm gonna use my own. I make myself.
Wyatt, you said you were still typing, right? If you're watching the video, you can pause. We're going to continue on here. Number 2 says, I'm way down here, why are yew trees a good choice for hedge mazes?
We have more?
Well, let's see. We have lots more. I have to look. It says on page 67, they have a picture of the slow growing yew tree, right? Trying to find where. So I'm skimming and scanning to see where else they might talk about yew trees, and you're doing the same. If you find it, raise your hand. Let me know.
6 people have already found it.
I see some more there. What'd you find, Maya? Oh, so 2 things they mention in the book, right? They grow slowly and they keep their shape. Why do you think those would be good reasons to use those for hedge mazes? Why are these good reasons, Nick?
Because if they want to keep it for a while, 1, it won't get super big, and 2, it won't like expand and make the maze different.
Right, it's not going to change its shape, right? So it's going to keep the shape and
They
where
could
it's at.
keep the maze
Okay.
the same for a while.
So we are going to use that text evidence plus our own thoughts to answer this question. So our text evidence, you might say in the text, it states yew trees grow slowly and keep their shape. Now from there, I'm going to explain, or you're going to explain, why that's beneficial. You know what? Turn around, facing forward. So that's your first sentence. We're kind of giving you text evidence first.
Wait, is it slowly or slowly?
Slowly. Thank you.
H state. Wow.
Grow slowly. There we go.
You. What's
Stop. You're just typing. Question, Kenny?
And then another thing would be like, another benefit is that, like, if you were to make like if you were to make like, design one, 'cause like, I've gone to places where they have like, I've gone in one that was shaped like the Cubs logo.
Yeah.
I've gone in one that's shaped like the gummy bear,
Right.
and
It's gonna keep that shape, right? It's not gonna change. Yep.
Oh yeah.
So here we talk about the text evidence. Now we need to give our thoughts, right? You might say these qualities will keep the maze from changing shape, right? Which both Kenny and Nick had mentioned, from changing shape. What was the other one you mentioned, Nick? Oh, they won't get too tall.
Yeah.
And the tree won't too tall.
Will keep the maze from changing.
Yep. These trees will let the maze, I think you mentioned this too, last a long time, right?
Yeah.
Let me see. Whoops, I'm trying to get it so we can see. There we go. All right. Give you a minute, type that.
Will let
Why are we not doing this right now? What is this for? Oh. I think you're way too much there, Joel, for this.
they've gone
You'll have to just submit it for right now. Is it done? Alright,
since yesterday.
Yeah, they didn't have that.
because we're answering these questions now. I don't know why we're not doing that. We already got it done. Submit data that you can go to the list you were on. Only thing that I really see that you can do is that you've got two, we'll make that big range of sandwich. That's 36 questions. So work on two, because we're
I
gonna.
get from Chick-fil-A is the plain chicken.
Yeah. Well, I get pickles.
I don't like pickles in restaurants. They're just not the same.
I like that.
All right.
I don't like that.
Question 3, let me look at it here. Describe the maze it made for Queen Elizabeth by her brothers. Include 3 details from the text in your answer. So you're describing that, taking their descriptive words and answering that question. You're just describing it. Tell me about it. Don't tell me it's a maze in England. I need more than that. Okay, what does it look like? What did they use to make it? Why did they make it? Those are some things you might include for an answer to question 3.
Or you can say what state it's in.
Where is it at?
What about the apple orchard?
Question 4. Main idea and details. That's in your notebook. We've talked about main idea and details several times. Okay, what is a main idea? It's a main idea, Riker.
The main idea is the main idea.
What is it? What does that mean, though? If it's the main idea, what is it?
Main idea.
What did the author want to do with that main idea? Go ahead, Riker.
It, like about mazes, it wanted to like inform you about mazes and why, like.
That would
about
be the main
some,
idea of
why it'd be
this.
fun.
Yeah, right? The main idea was they wanted to tell you about different mazes and how they could be fun. So they're giving you, this is a main idea. Okay, the hedge maze at Leeds Castle has many unusual features. So you would go to the hedge maze at Leeds Castle,
Are we skipping?
that page, and find details that this is a true statement, that it is in fact has many unusual features. Okay, you're finding the details that support this. Okay, that's what you're doing with question 4. Question 5 is making an inference. We already talked about an inference. It's an answer, right? Why do mazes last for only 1 year? So if you're making an inference, did it tell you in the story? Probably not. It probably didn't just say why. It probably implied why, and you have to find out why, using what you read and what you know, and answer that question. Number 6 is making a connection. So it says, have you ever gone through a maze? This is your opportunity now to share with me your experiences. Okay? Okay, have you ever gone through a maze? If not, do you enjoy completing mazes with pencils and paper? So there are mazes for pencil and paper, right? We've done some already this year. Okay? Some are more difficult than others. So you're gonna write about it. Okay? And it says, write about a connection you have to this text. So the connection is, have you done a maze? Was it difficult? Did you like it? Do you not like mazes? Okay, you're telling me about an experience based on this story. Okay, I think you just did something like that for reading. Weren't you reading some things
Yeah,
or language, right? And you were taking that information and kind of elaborating on it. So you're making a connection here with this text. What experiences have you had with mazes that you can share? Okay, 4 questions you're finishing, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you'll submit that. When you're done, that should be it for reading today. Just these last questions, make sure you finished or fixed the author's purpose discussion from yesterday if you need to. Okay?